Well, folks, we're visiting today with Dave Clark and Karen Jacobson. They're with Woodlands Development and Lending, based out of Elkins, West Virginia. Dave, Karen, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to learning more about what you all are doing there in Elkins with Woodlands Development and Lending, and we'll get right to that.
Positively West Virginia. Positively West Virginia.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, and Humble Influence. With the help of these sponsors, we're able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one from today's episode.
Dave, tell us a little bit about your role as Executive Director at Woodlands Development and Lending and what you do.
Sure. So I am the Executive Director, as you say, of Woodlands Development and Lending. We are a community development organization based in Elkins. We work in the surrounding region. We have a handful of different business lines, if you will. So we do a lot of what I generally refer to as community-based real estate development. Yes. So we do a lot of housing development of all shapes and sizes, both rental and ownership homes. We do a lot in downtown redevelopment in the communities we work in. Yeah. We do a lot of work in just general community facilities, parks, trails, green space, vacant and dilapidated buildings. We're putting in a broadband fiber network through a rural part of our region. So really whatever we can do to help further the community and economic development goals of the communities we work in.
What counties are your service area?
So our large part of our development work focuses in on 3 counties, Randolph, Barber, and Tucker.
Love it.
But then we're also a non-traditional lender, or what's called a community development financial institution, or a CDFI. And that lending extends throughout the Mon Forest region. So we're in 9 counties doing the lending work. But the bulk of our development work is right in those 3 counties.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So Karen, if you could maybe take it up where Dave left off, tell us a little bit about your title and what your role is with Woodlands.
Cool. So I'm Deputy Director of Woodlands Community Lenders, so it's a separate but sister organization to Woodlands Development Group. The 2 of us together are Woodlands Development and Lending. Yeah. Woodlands Development Group started back in 1998 as an affordable housing developer and has grown to really be this broad-based organization that Dave just described. Community lenders, actually Dave and I cooked up together back in 2011 and raised the capital really initially from the Tucker Community Foundation right there in our region to start this kind of non-traditional lending entity to do small business lending. So we do kind of a range of small business loans from, $5,000 loans to small startups to $250,000 loans to commercial buildings. Wow. Helping people with a down payment, kind of working in alignment with a community bank to help a borrower acquire a building, renovate it, fix it up, and get their business going. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the work that you all are doing. Full disclosure, the Monongahela National Forest is my playground, my wife and I's favorite spot in West Virginia. We love going down to Barber County, Randolph, and Tucker. Those are our 3 favorite places, even though we live in Monongahela County. So that's my full disclosure. I want to be transparent with that. So how did you all get started with Woodlands? Maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about the founding point of it. How did you all started getting plugged into it?
Sure. Well, Woodlands Development Group, as Karen said, was started back in the 90s. Yeah. And it was really it was started as an organization that was meant to be nimble and responsive to local communities.
Is it a nonprofit?
Okay. Yes.
But all this
and
is
I should say, we are, as Karen said, we really have 2 organizations under our wing,
right.
Woodlands Development Group, Woodlands Community Lenders. Both are 501c3 nonprofit organizations. That was started back in the 90s, started off doing some small-scale housing development, and then we branched out to do downtown redevelopment and this other work, as I said. It's grown pretty significantly over the last 10, 15 years.
How is it funded? How do you keep this thing going?
We get a whole variety of sources. We own real estate, so we get a lot of rental income off that.
Great. Yeah.
So we We also, as Karen says, on our lending side, we make loans, so we're able to generate interest income off that. We also get a lot of support from private, federal, and state resources. So in any given year, we've got 30 different streams of funding coming into the organization at this point. So really, whatever we can cobble together to make this
Multiple
work
streams
happen.
of income.
Yes.
And revenue.
Whereas as a developer, we're also able to generate revenue out of developing buildings, and we do a lot of rehab work now too in our downtown redevelopment work.
Yeah, in all 3 counties, basically.
In all 3 counties.
That's
right.
wonderful. Well, when you all meet, I'm going to ask Karen and Dave both this question, but when you meet somebody for the first time, what do you say Woodlands is all about in 30 seconds? What's your 30-second pitch? I'll start with Karen.
Mine is, we work with local neighbors and local governments to help them pursue their vision for the area through planning, through bringing resources, and trying to make where we live a great place to work and live, basically.
Yeah, I love it. Dave, 30-second pitch.
So we see ourselves first and foremost as a community planning organization that then takes plans that we develop with local communities and local governments and then turns them into action and create real change on the landscape. So whether that's new housing projects or restored downtown buildings or new businesses that are coming in on Main Street, we've chosen, as opposed to like a lot of our peers, we've chosen to focus in on a relatively small geographic area and do whatever we can to further the economic and community development goals of those communities. Rather than pick 1 or 2 things and grow out, we've chosen to grow inward.
Yeah.
And,
Wow. Fascinating.
That's why this alignment, we have a third nonprofit now that we're working with, the Mon Forest Towns Partnership.
Yeah.
So this was an organization that, Dave can tell you probably more about the roots, but really it's an organization that's controlled by 12 towns that are gateways to the Mon Forest.
Yeah.
And it's really about helping those towns figure out what kind of vision they have for their tourist economy, which we all know can have great benefits and great costs, and really pursue that vision, with resources that we bring, with technical assistance that we bring. And so it's sort of a great output of this kind of approach that Dave was just talking about.
I love that. What's the thing you're most excited about for Woodlands right now?
Oh, we've got, in the very short term, we have a handful of workforce housing development projects that are getting ready to get started and go under construction in Tucker County, where there's a desperate need for housing for people who are making a modest income up there. There's really limited housing
People
options
working
up
in
there.
the tourism industry,
Working in the
hospitality,
tourism,
things of that
or
nature.
really in any, working at the state parks, working for Fish and Wildlife, working just across the board. There's really limited options right now that, as you know, Tucker County particularly has seen a lot of growth, exponential growth in second home ownership and Airbnb conversions and things like that. So it's so I'm particularly excited about that.
Yeah. Karen, how about you? What's the thing you're most excited about right now?
Oh, I am not prepared for that question because there's so many things. I'm excited that we're about to end the year with another year of probably 20% growth in lending. So we will have, we'll probably finish the year at 1.8 million, having
That's
lent
impressive.
to 25 to 30 businesses.
Love it.
With, again, everything from $20,000 loans to $287,000.
Is that fueling startups, expansion, kind of combination of everything?
Yeah, the whole thing. And, increasingly also seeing we have a role to play where there are, older business owners who want to retire, get out of their business. And it's really important to us if that's a business that's contributing with jobs and revenue to a local economy, we want to make sure there's some kind of transition. So, we helped an outfitter last year, transition from a retiring owner to a local, 2 local owners, who grew up right there. So that's a key part. But then also, startup businesses. You talked about the passion for agricultural businesses, helping a goat milk soap
Yeah,
entrepreneur
yeah.
get the feet under her, helping a new child care company,
That's great.
which we desperately need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, we lent, of course, to the Tigert Hotel, which is, if you'd asked Dave last year what he was most excited about, I think that would have been...
That's great.
Because that's a great project of theirs in downtown
absolutely.
Elkins.
Well, thanks for sharing that. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. Here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're visiting with Dave Clark and Karen Jacobson. They're both with Woodlands Development and Lending, based in Elkins. This is a fascinating conversation, and I want to maybe throw this out to both of you. Karen, you talked about transitioning from business ownerships, and we've talked about the importance of tourism, especially in those counties of Barber, Randolph, and Tucker County. This is on top of my mind because we were just there, my wife and I, Rebecca, this past weekend in Tucker County, and I was sitting there at Sirianni's, one of our favorite places to eat, and looking across the street, Hellbender's is out of business now. They've closed up. And it was like, as I was sitting there, I was thinking, because people were walking into the restaurant at 5, 6 o'clock or something like that, and they were turning around because the place was packed, and there's not a lot of eateries there. Those are the types of businesses that are essential for tourism. You got to have places for people to go and hang out and have coffee or have breakfast or have dinner. How can we attract people to come in and take over these businesses like Hellbenders? That was an iconic brand right there in Tucker County. How do we get people to maybe say, hey, I would like to move to West Virginia or start this or take this business over? There's funding opportunities. Is that the kind of things that you're looking for as well? And how do we get people attracted to take these businesses over?
Yeah, I think for us, it's much more about getting local people.
To take them over.
Take them over.
That's great.
And so we've had some success with that. And I know there are people looking at that. The building is now for sale, Hellbenders. So I'm hopeful that there'll be another restaurant there someday. But Milo's is a good example. We kind of helped the previous owner get her building ready for sale. She sold to a West Virginian.
Yes.
And now he's getting ready to, move on. And, where we can really help is we can come in with that higher risk dollars. And so if someone's buying an $800,000 piece of property, the bank wants them to have 20% of that as a down payment.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people, particularly younger people, have that sitting around in the bank. So
especially if it's somebody local to the area, say they're in Tucker County or Randolph County, we want them to stay here.
Exactly.
Because there's opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is massive opportunity.
We discovered, when we started this, it was really about kind of how do we kind of add another tool to the toolbox for economic development in our region. That was part of why we started the loan fund. But what we realized is that, a majority of our borrowers were under the age of 40. And were people who, had a lot of reason to want to stay here and create their own thing. So they were going to create their own job. Yeah. And so that's really is a big passion of ours. Is really
mine too.
Helping
entrepreneurship.
Those folks. Yeah.
And I think that's an easy path for West Virginia youth to stay here. Young people here are fleeing our state. Yeah. We can keep them here by giving them opportunity. And I love what you're talking about, Karen. I think that's fascinating.
And if I could, I think one other thing that we can do, and really Karen has done a tremendous job at building this capacity over the years, but is we can work with that potential borrower, that young borrower who wants to come in, and work with them for however long it takes them to get loan ready, as opposed to a bank who can't afford that kind of time and commitment to working through business planning, cash flow projections, marketing analysis. How do you do all that? It can take a long time, and we're in a good position where we can support that development. So we've worked with some borrowers for multiple years before they're really ready to take over and buy a business like that.
And that's, so we provide business coaching, third-party technical assistance. So we have funds we can hook people up with, legal, marketing, accounting, that kind of thing. But also, back to the Woodlands side, and this is what makes our partnership so valuable, is, they're looking at a building. We can ask Woodlands to go in and provide an assessment, either with their own staff or with their architectural connections, so that when they're buying that building, they know exactly what they're getting and what kinds of things, particularly with abandoned buildings or buildings that haven't been kept up. It's what keeps people from taking the leap is they don't, they're like, how much is it going to take? And we can really help break it down for them, and then we can help finance it.
I love that very much. From your all's perspective, you all have been with Woodlands for a number of years now, and what are some of the success stories you've seen? Dave, I'll start with you.
Well, Karen mentioned one big project we just wrapped up really about a year and a half ago now was the redevelopment of the Tiger Hotel in downtown
Talk about that, because we didn't really get into it. I know a little bit about it, but for our listeners.
So we like to say that every project, every initiative we starts with some kind of a community conversation.
Yeah.
And this one was no different than that. The Tiger Hotel was the Grand Hotel of Elkins, built at the turn of the century. Lots of famous people have stayed there over the years, lots of presidents, lots of political and media figures. But it kind of followed the trajectory of the logging and the railroad industry and took a dive down. It was converted to apartments starting in the 70s, and then it changed hand multiple times. So by the time we got involved in the project in around 2014, 2015, it had become what we often call housing of last resort. It was a really horrible housing project right in the middle of town. There was a homeless encampment in the basement. It was full of bugs. But people were living there. It accounted for about half of all the city's police calls came out of that one building.
Wow.
So we had a series of community meetings about this building. It was literally driving businesses out of downtown. So we had a series of meetings, and at the end of those meetings, Woodlands had agreed to both buy the building, work towards purchasing the building, I should say, and that we would also take a hard look at converting it back to a hotel. And it took us a couple years to cobble the financing together to buy it, and then it took us a couple more years to put together the financing and do the studies we needed to. But the feasibility, once we brought in some consultants and others, it looked doable. So we worked with a lot of our partners to go ahead and redevelop it back into a boutique hotel. So we now own and run this hotel that opened up about a year and a half ago. Downtown Elkins,
How's
56
it going?
rooms. I'm learning all kinds of things about hospitality that I had never thought we would ever get into. But this fall and summer has been great. I mean, it's really been, we've been maxed out many times now at full occupancy. People really, I think the story of the hotel and the fact that it's a part of a bigger economic development story about Elkins just really resonates with a lot of people, and they want to be there and be part of it.
And that could really jumpstart economic development right there in the city of Elkins, but the county, I mean.
Yeah, we describe it a lot as a tipping point project.
Tipping point, I love
we certainly
that,
weren't responsible for all the other development that's now happening, but people saw what was going on there, and neighboring buildings have now bought and purchased or renovated. We now have a conference facility that's getting built by our development authority just a couple blocks away. We worked with the city to create a TIF district, tax increment financing district in downtown.
Perfect. Yeah.
So really, we're looking at probably about $60 million that'll be invested in Elkins over like a 5-year period.
Renovation, redevelopment, reimagining the city of Elkins. I love that.
Yeah.
This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
In a world obsessed with leadership, what if the real key to success is followership. We hear it all the time. Be a leader, take charge. But what if the most impactful people aren't the ones leading from the front? In Humble Influence, I explore how humility, collaboration, and shared purpose empower followers to create meaningful change in business, organizations, and relationships. Discover the strength of true followership with Humble Influence.
And we're back. Our guests today are Dave Clark and Karen Jacobson with Woodlands Development and Lending, based in Randolph County in Elkins, but also serving Randolph County, Tucker County, and Barber County. That's their core area. How do you get the word out, Karen, about what you're doing and how you're helping people? What are you doing these days?
Well, that's a good question. We're probably not doing as good of a job as we should.
Well,
but
you're
here we are on. Yes, exactly.
We're working on it. Yes.
So, we do kind of think of ourselves as circuit riders. So, particularly for lenders, we started working in the 6 counties around that little target heart just 3 years ago. We're just out meeting and talking to people a lot. We were just at a town council in Durban last week.
Great.
We're in Marlinton. We're in Franklin. Just going
That's
to visit
awesome.
and talk to people. And we have found that is that's sort of the best way, is really just to go
relationships.
and build those relationships, and then people will come to you when they need something.
Yeah, that's great. Dave, a question for you in terms of growing Woodlands and expanding your footprint or generating more customers and success stories. What's the highest level challenge you're facing right now?
Well, I'll say right now, we're at that interesting point, I think, in our development where we see with a lot of our entrepreneurs, when they get to that middle stage, it's challenging. It's almost easier sometimes to be a small business or a large business. Being in the middle can be tough.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's kind of where we are right now. So we're really trying to think about how do we best serve our communities. We want to stay focused on the communities we currently serve.
Yep.
We're not really looking at expanding too much. But how do we grow the organization within those communities? But also we recognize that there's a general need to grow community development efforts across the state. And we want to support that without having a direct impact, a direct role, I should say, in communities outside our area. So we're supporting some nascent effort now in Pocahontas County, where they want to be doing more small business lending. They want to be doing more workforce housing development. So how can we help them grow and become?
Yeah, that's smart. Well, you've got a proven model. You've been doing it for decades, and I think you're seeing the fruits of that labor. And honestly, when I think about economic development, it's not just business. It's affordable housing for the workforce. It's about workforce development. It's about access to capital. It's all these things, and the quality of life that we have in those 3 counties primarily that you serve, Barber, Randolph, and Tucker, is just amazing. If I could live there and work here, that'd be amazing, but I like to go there and spend time. Like I mentioned, it's our playground, So Karen, what do you think about that? Just the idea of being intermeshed and how all this works together.
Well, it makes me think, when we were talking about success stories, what came to my mind was, the town of Thomas.
Yes.
So, 30 years ago when I moved to West Virginia, it was a struggling town with mostly empty buildings. Fast forward to 15 years ago, Woodlands was sponsoring with a staff person an organization of local people called New Historic Thomas. Well, that organization, ultimately built the local city park, built out the trails there, designed and really fomented all the planning that happened along the river, which there's been tons of reclamation done.
That's the Blackwater River.
Yeah,
right through the town.
And then the town itself, I think we figured at one time we've lent to 70% of either the buildings or the businesses.
So cool.
Whether it's renovating a building, putting housing up, in the upstairs. We've done a lot of that. We've helped local people, get started in a business in a rented building and then buy the building 4 or 5 years later. So Ella is, one of the people we like to talk about.
One of our favorite shops.
Erica Smith,
Yeah.
you know, graduated from Tucker County High School, has her design degree from WVU,
Yep.
wanted to move home and started a great little business
beautiful
there
shop.
and owns the
Yep.
building now.
Yep.
But so that, and then, you know, we're you know, it just taught us a lot too about kind of working with people, about being deep in a community, and I'm hopeful that is really kind of what has what's inspiring Montforest Towns, and also our work, you know, doing some of the same kinds of things in Marlinton and Franklin and some of the other towns. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, though. It's, you know, as Karen said, Thomas has been, by many measures, very successful now.
Yeah.
And we have invested in a lot of those buildings, but to some extent, they're also now victims of their own success, right? They're, again, getting back to there is literally nowhere to live if you're making a moderate income. If you're an employee in one of those buildings, it's tough to find a spot right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the example of Hellbenders earlier, I think the owners would tell you one of the reasons they decided to close the business because they had such a hard time finding employees that was directly related to the lack of workforce housing that's available in the region.
Yeah, that's a good backstory because, you know, everything I mentioned, everything's interconnected. That all of this,
Yes.
and for West Virginia, I think of tourism is one of our leading industries. You know, that's the hope, and people love to come here, and I think it attracts people to eventually move here and hopefully keep people here too, right? That's kind of like the triple edge there that we need.
Yeah.
But if we don't have affordable places for people to live, then that is a real barrier. So I love what you're doing with affordable housing.
And I'll say we learned a lot by our work in Thomas, as Karen suggested. And one of the things we decided to do when we could see the same trend happening now in Elkins is with the hotel that we now own, we have a surcharge on every room. So every $2.50 every night on every room goes into a fund that supports workforce housing development. And we've purchased up some of the vacant lots around the property, around the hotel and the neighborhood behind it, and we'll be building single-family homes for
That's
working
brilliant.
families.
Yeah, that's
The
awesome.
financing
I
is
love it.
really hard in
Yeah.
rural places.
Sure.
You know, I was just at a convening of the CDFI sort of industry in DC, and you know, you talk to our urban counterparts and even our suburban counterparts, and their main source of capital are banks, because banks can meet their CRA requirements by making large investments, both loans and grants. We don't have that. We have community banks who we love and we work next to. Community banks were hugely, you know, impactful in Thomas, you know, with us playing a secondary role. But you know, they can't be sort of the source of capital or grants for us. And so increasingly, you know, a limit to our work is sort of where can we access funds. We all know, you know, the Benedum Foundation is amazing and they have been very supportive of our work. But, you know, in many other places in the country, you've got more than one foundation
That's
that
right.
you can turn to.
That's right.
And so I think that's the next thing we're looking at is really, you know, can we create a vehicle so that local people can invest funds in their local CDFI that we can then use, you know, relend for affordable housing, which would be a great use of those funds.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I like I said, I keep having this image of, you know, our beauty of a state, the value of high quality people that we have here in West Virginia that really care about other people, right? Want to see other people succeed. Entrepreneurship is strong, and then just these communities that you all are serving are just some of the most beautiful places on the planet. Really, you know, we have gems and these forests and these national wildlife preserves and all these different things. It's really a great escape for people here in West Virginia and outside as well. What is I'm going to ask both of you this question because both of you are business leaders, community leaders. You're leading in nonprofits. What do you think is the most important attribute of a successful leader today? Dave, I'll start with you.
Oh, I think the most successful attribute is the capacity to listen.
Darn it, you took mine.
I think
you can use the same one, Karen.
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why we've chosen to stay focused on a really relatively small area. We have staff that live and work in every community we work in part because we feel like then we can have our finger on the pulse. Where, and we encourage our staff to all get out there and join Rotary or run for city council or do whatever it takes.
Great.
Sit on the planning commission. And I'll say, too, on our lending side, we've had a very small number of failures. I have 5, 6 number of loans out of the hundreds we've done that have actually gone bad. And I would say the one common characteristic of those 5 or 6 businesses was their shortcomings in their ability to listen. Not necessarily to us, we're not always the professionals or know everything, but to their peers or to their community. That's the one characteristic they all share.
Yeah, I love it. Karen?
I would be saying sort of the same thing. I mean, it does feel like what you, I think an important aspect of leadership is, if you're not listening, then you're not really able to harness the energy of the team that you're working with. And I think along with listening, there is this, it's important to be able to articulate what we're all doing together and to be able to hold that vision and make it real for people and really invite people to make it their own. And kind of have a big umbrella where everyone feels like the work we're doing is super important and we're doing it together and it's worth it and we'll find a way to do it.
That's great.
Creates energy.
Yeah, thank you both for that insight. I'm a student of leadership, so when I have 2 leaders here, I just love it. So thank you for sharing that with our audience, but also myself. I appreciate you very much. What is one piece of advice? I'm going to ask both of you this question. What's one piece of advice, I'll start with Karen, that you would give to somebody thinking about starting a business here in West Virginia, specifically even in the 3 counties that you're serving? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
I think to really spend time understanding what the market is for your potential business, not being too concerned necessarily with scale, but thinking more about how things can be bootstrapped, how you might work with other businesses or entrepreneurs to kind of join forces or do things together, to take advantage of all the resources, because we have a great SBDC office in our region that will really help with business planning and cash flow. Like I said, we have technical assistance we can provide. Local banks are super helpful in laying out different financing. So I mean, there's a lot of help, but it's going to be that advice will be most helpful to you if you have a pretty clear idea of who you're selling to, how it's going to work, and how you're going to get where you want to go.
Yep. I often say that I suggest that businesses focus on the problem that they solve. Fall in love with the problem.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Fall in love with the problem, and then your solution will, as we talked about listening to that, your solution will manifest.
That's right.
And then that's the business sweet spot.
Yeah.
Dave, what would you say
good
to somebody thinking about starting a business here in West Virginia?
I mean, similar to Karen, I would say we have some tremendous resources, particularly in our region, I think. We can't speak for the whole state, but there are a lot of people out there that can help. And sometimes you got to sift through a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff out there that offers help and maybe isn't terribly helpful, but there's a lot of great stuff out there too. Again, our business coach, our SBDC office is a great one in our region. They're just, our local banks are willing to help out. I think you just have to get out there and really talk to a lot of folks and understand what's out there, and that can help you understand your business and your vision.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would just add to, I think the one thing that we see, the consistent weakness that we see is, people get passionate about their idea. They're rarely passionate about accounting or cash flow, because that's kind of, that's sort of in the background. And yet, the more you can become kind of a master of that, or have someone in your world that's a master of how to manage cash flow. Many tourism, of course, if you're anywhere in that sector, you've got a seasonal business. So you have to just understand what that's going to be like for you and how to work with that.
Great wisdom, for sure.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many business owners I talk to on a monthly basis, and I'll say, what's your P&L look like? And they're like, what's that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I definitely hear
And
what
that's
you're
no one gets into business to
That's right.
understand a
Yeah.
P&L
But
at the same time.
But if you don't have that, you don't have anything.
It's
honestly,
kind of important.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Well, this is great. One of the things that I'm thinking about is, as an advocate for entrepreneurship, as an advocate for small business, as an advocate for West Virginia small businesses and entrepreneurship, I am wondering, like, if there's somebody out there who says, hey, you know what, I love Tucker County, I love Barber County. I wonder if Woodlands can help me find a business that might be coming up for sale. Is that a place where people can come to you all and say, hey, do you know of any businesses in your Tri-County area that are up for sale, or struggling, or maybe looking to transition into retirement where I can take it over? Would that be an opportunity for people to get plugged in with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, getting back to the fact that we have staff on the ground in every community we serve. I mean, that's part of the reason we do that. And so, we often have a great handle on what's going on, particularly in the downtowns, for instance. If there's a business or a building that's coming up for sale, we can often then match them up with somebody who's looking to start a business, who's come in and talk to our business coach, say, we got a great space if you want to consider something over here.
You want to put a restaurant in, or coffee shop,
That's
or
right.
a gift shop, or something related to tourism, or maybe it's just an attraction that'll actually bring people into to the community. That would be cool. Very good.
The thing I think we're thinking about is, what role a business broker type of business line how might that work for us?
Mm-hmm.
There's a similar organization to us in Western North Carolina that has really kind of focused in on this whole, business transition issue. And so they've basically purchased a business broker, because, business brokers typically, they're only looking at high value, right?
Yeah.
So you might, you might not be able to find someone who'll represent your business if your, revenue is $250,000 or less. And so this, I think it's kind of a neat strategy to can you create something that is active for smaller businesses that are still, provide a good living to their owners and good jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's nothing that we have formally, but informally we have a lot of information. So if people are looking,
because I do feel like, especially in the area that you all are from, it's just a great place, and it's a great place, I would think, to have a business. Especially if we can help, fund or solve for, not just fund, but solve for the housing and employment opportunities, and finding good quality people, because it's a machine. It's going to feed itself, and so I love what you all are doing. We've covered a lot in this interview. Is there anything else you all think folks in our audience should know about Woodlands Development and Lending and the things that you guys are doing?
Well, I would just say that, we I think we often like to emphasize, as we have already, but the fact that a lot of this work is about a community investing in itself.
Yes.
And I think we have a lot of incredibly smart and creative people in our region. I think we have the financial resources. I think we have the wherewithal to make a lot of this work happen. And it's not easy, and I don't think we do ourselves any favors by suggesting this work is easy or anybody can do it, but it can be done. I mean, and I think now the work that we've been able to be a part of over the years has demonstrated the fact that we can redevelop downtowns, we can help entrepreneurs get started, we can create workforce housing.
That's great. As we close out our time, Karen, Dave, how can folks learn more about Woodlands Development and Lending, what you're doing, and maybe even get plugged in on some of these ideas we've talked about of buying a business or getting started with some funding?
I think our website is a pretty good portal, and both our business coach Marty Jefferson and our loan officer Tina Kreitz love to talk to people anytime, and they pick up their phones any time of the day or night or weekends, and are really pretty passionate about helping helping figure out where people are, where they want to go, and helping them get there. So
that's great.
I think really giving us a call. I mean, obviously, Dave and I are also on the website, and
that's at woodlandswv.org. We'll make sure we have that link.
That's right.
We'll have that link on the show notes and on social media. We'll make sure we tag you guys. And if anybody's interested, especially in Randolph, Barber, and Tucker County, starting a business, getting plugged in with these guys, it's an awesome opportunity. And like Dave, you said, there's plenty of resources out there to help people. You don't have to go it alone. The SDDC's there. You have great community partners. And I just want to say as we close out our time, our guests once again, Dave Clark and Karen Jacobson at Woodlands Development and Lending. You all are doing this is a very important work. And I appreciate you very much, especially since this is one of my favorite parts of West Virginia, that region. So you guys are doing it, and I'm glad to shed a little bit of light on your work. It's so important what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Come visit us.
Yeah.
Yes. Get down to Barber, Tucker, and Randolph County.
And the 6 counties around it.
Yeah. Including Pendleton, right? Is it
Pendleton and
Grant
Grant and Preston and Upshur and Webster, Pocahontas.
Dave Clark, Karen Jacobson, it's been an honor, and thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on the show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. Of course, we appreciate your comments, your sharing these great stories of Dave and Karen and Woodlands. It helps them, it helps us, and so thank you for that. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Humble Influence, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.